MedTech innovation is a vast and complex space. The MedTech Actuator surrounds startups with an extensive network of partners across the entire commercialization pathway. Welcome to your village.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Dr. Buzz Palmer, CEO of the MedTech Actuator.
And I'm Dr. Vishal Kishore, Deputy CEO and Chief Strategy Officer at the MedTech Actuator. Welcome, friends, to the 2021 MedTech Actuator Origin Gala. Now, as you all know, it's traditional in Australia to acknowledge our First Peoples when we conduct important business to do with our economy and society. So please allow me to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we're meeting. For Buzz and me here in the studio, it's the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. And I would just like to offer our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and indeed elders from all times and all places, and from wherever you all are as well, tuning into tonight's broadcast. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would just like to share with you a little bit about the format for the evening. We're going to be together for the next hour and a half, sharing with you the very best of medtech, health tech, and biotech from across the Asia Pacific region. We'll be welcoming guests in studio and via live cross. We'll be joined by our friends from the Menzies Foundation, who are tonight launching a fantastic new report entitled Spinning Out, Supporting Science Startups in Australia. We'll also hear from 12 of the Asia Pacific region's best emerging medtech, health tech, and biotech entrepreneurs and innovators, and we'll announce the winners of the 2021 MedTech Origin competition. So exciting. And I should also just say, ladies and gentlemen, this is the first year that we haven't been able to be in person for this competition. And innovation knows no bounds, so we're thrilled to come to you in this new way, in this new format, and we're sure that you'll enjoy everything we have ready to serve up to you tonight. So a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. Now, don't forget we'll be live tweeting, and you can follow along and indeed tweet along using the hashtag MedTech Actuator hashtag. There's also a link for you to access our Gala program on the page just below this video. Finally, we've really been overwhelmed, haven't we, Buzz, by the response to this event. It's really clear to see the commitment within the innovation ecosystem in support of medtech, health tech and biotech entrepreneurs, and just the sheer numbers have overwhelmed so much of what we originally planned. So we've put into place new technology. Our web team have tested again this page for load, but if by any chance we were to go down today, we'll move the broadcast over to our YouTube channel. The address is on screen now, and you'll also find it in the event reminder email that you received earlier today. Now, before we hear from our contestants, we'll first hear from the Honourable Gala Pulford, Minister for Employment, Innovation, Medical Research, the Digital Economy and Small Business. Minister Pulford has one of the most important portfolios in Victoria, and we're so thrilled to have her with us today. Minister, welcome.
Good evening. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're gathered and to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, the elders of whatever country you're joining us from today. I'd also like to acknowledge Dr. Buzz Palmer, the CEO of MedTech Actuator, Dr. Vishal Kishore, the Deputy CEO and Chief Strategy Officer, and from LaunchVic, Dr. Kate Cornick, our CEO, Liz Gillies, the CEO of the Menzies Foundation, and Tony Surtees, the Director of the Menzies Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you all. Welcome to the MedTech Actuator Origin Gala Finals. It is my great pleasure to open this evening's proceedings. The MedTech Actuator Origin Gala presents a wonderful opportunity for startups to fast-track their growth with funding and support from the team at MedTech Actuator. Victoria's medtech, biotech and pharma sector is booming. Medtech exports are growing rapidly, which is perhaps not surprising given our world-leading research and advanced manufacturing capability. Victoria is not only Australia's leader in life sciences, but we're also globally recognised in the sector. And we have one of the world's premier life science clusters, and more than 40% of all ASX-listed life science companies call Melbourne home. A vibrant biotech commercial sector, key R&D infrastructure and advanced manufacturing expertise also make Melbourne a highly sought-after destination for global companies. COVID-19 has shown us how vital healthcare innovation is to our economy and, more importantly, to the health and well-being of our community, which is why our government is backing the growth of this critical industry, one that is developing truly game-changing technologies and products that will improve the health and lives of Victorians and indeed people right across the world. MedTech Actuator has played a key role in this, supporting medtech and health tech startups by providing the skills, expertise and investment to grow across Australia and indeed take products and ideas to the world. Fast-tracking their development with really intensive mentoring and capital support ensures that these businesses emerge ready to take on whatever comes their way, to take on those global markets. Incredibly, the team have already helped over 50 startups in just 3 years. This is represented by the deployment of more than $35 million of early-stage capital, and more than 2,500 people have been trained across clinical and research innovation. What an extraordinary legacy in just 3 years. The actuator also plays a critical role in linking startups with experienced local industry mentors to help with development, validation and commercialisation of products and services. We're really proud to support the actuator and to see how Dr. Buzz Palmer and his team have grown this program from right here in Victoria. We've been delighted to be a support partner of the MedTech Actuator since 2014, including the MedTech Actuator Origin Gala finals. Because our government understands it's one thing to have a great idea, but another altogether to translate that into a viable business. And that's really what tonight is all about, backing promising medtech entrepreneurs to reach their full potential and get their business to the next stage. It's exciting to be able to see the next generation of medtech entrepreneurs pitching ideas that have the potential to vastly improve or even save lives. It's amazing to look at the range of ideas and proposals that we will be presented with tonight. And all successful pitching companies will receive invaluable support and learn firsthand from the very best in the business, with fast-tracked opportunities to work with the team at MedTech Actuator. So once again, I wish everyone the very best of success with their pitches and look forward to watching our next generation of medtech startups for whom tonight will be just the start of an exciting journey. Thanks so much. Have a great night.
Thank you so much, Minister. Thank you for joining us and thank you for your commitment to the innovation ecosystem. We all feel it very palpably and very strongly, so thank you very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the MedTech Actuator is the Asia Pacific's MedTech catalyst. We now have programs across Australia, Singapore, India, and Japan. Our programs are integrated, powerful, and they augment innovation ecosystems across our region. And we've had remarkable traction. By July 2021, we will have accepted 60 startups into our 15-month flagship accelerator program. Those startups will have a combined market valuation of $250 million. We will have released through investment partners more than $50 million of early stage capital into these startups. 9 of our startups are raising or getting ready to raise really large, chunky Series A rounds, and we now have 4 companies actively moving towards advanced manufacturing with 11 startups with products already on market. It's a remarkable story of success and a great testament to the hard work of these ventures and these fantastic innovators. Now, it takes a village to raise a startup. It's something that Buzz and I are very fond of saying. Our village is made up of more than 85 partners, about 75 mentors. Many of the viewers who are with us here today play a really active role in the ecosystem. And we'd just like to take a moment to extend a particular thank you to you all for your ongoing support of the ecosystem and of the MedTech Actuator. We'd also like to take the opportunity to thank some of our foundation partners. the Australian Government, the Department of Industry, Science, Energy and Resources, Enterprise Singapore, the Victorian Government's Department of Jobs, Precincts and Regions, of course our friends at Launch Vic, MTP Connect through the READY program, Medtronic, Johnson & Johnson, Cook Medical, Ernst & Young, Boston Scientific, Ramsay Healthcare, Artesian, FB Rice, Minter Ellison, and of course, the Menzies Foundation. We'd also, of course, like to give a special thanks to all of our various partner hospitals, universities, research institutes, product development companies, and ecosystem builders who are integral to the success of our startups. They are the genesis of so many great ideas. It's wonderful to be partnered up with you. It's wonderful to be shoulder to shoulder with you. Thank you very much.
So you might be wondering why we're dressed like penguins this evening. Well, the truth is, we don't think that entrepreneurs get enough recognition in the ecosystem. What they're doing, they're changing the face of healthcare.
They are.
They're changing the world. They're disrupting technology. And tonight, we want it to be about them. And so we're dressed in this way, truly just to kind of represent them and to let them to know that we think you're rock stars. And actually, entrepreneurs throughout the world should be recognized as rock stars because what they do is incredible. And so this evening, we're going to see 12 pitches. 12 pitches, teams from across Australia, India, and Japan, and each will give a 3-minute pitch to our esteemed judges. And our judges tonight will be represented from Johnson & Johnson, from EY, from FB Rice, and Minter Ellison. We're now going to see a quick video of our mentors and teams before we roll on to our first batch of pitches.
Exciting.
Imagine it's 2 in the morning and you have been vomiting all night. You decide to go to the emergency department. The junior doctor tries to put in a cannula but fails 3 times as you are dehydrated and your veins have collapsed. She calls the senior doctor who fails another 3 times. He calls the ICU registrar who after some delay brings down his ultrasound machine. After another 2 attempts, the cannula is finally in. It's 2 hours later and only now do you receive painkillers, nausea medication and fluids. Your arm is bruised and painful and looks like a pincushion and you are exhausted. I would like to say that this is an unusual scenario, but 70% of admitted patients require a cannula, and unfortunately, doctors and nurses miss a staggering 40% of the time when inserting a needle. This can be as high as 70% in patients who are difficult to cannulate, such as the very young, the very old, obese patients, oncology patients, and drug users. Each missed cannula costs the healthcare system $70 in consumables and lost clinician time. Current devices to assist with vein visualization include the infrared devices that have limited utility as they cannot find deeper veins, and it is the deeper veins that we need to locate and cannulate in difficult patients. The gold standard for difficult cannulations is ultrasound-guided needle insertion. However, these machines are big and bulky, expensive, and have a high training requirement. They are also only available in a few select departments. Our solution is the Veinwave. The Veinwave is an ultra-portable handheld device that takes the guesswork out of cannulation. The image modality is specifically optimized to locate and display veins on a screen in real time with a needle guide for accurate insertion. The image on the right of the screen shows how the device is moved across the arm until a vein is found and displayed on the screen. The device is then repositioned until the vein lines up with the cannulation guide notch. It requires no training and can be used by junior doctors, nurses, phlebotomists, and paramedics. Our device costs around $6,000 per unit, which is a fraction of the price of the large multifunction machines that retail around $80,000. We currently have a proof of concept device, and in the next 3 months we will progress this to a clinical demonstrator and will start benchtop and first-in-human trials. The Origin prize money will assist us in achieving this milestone. We will then open a seed round in order to achieve a minimally viable product by 2022. Our device will reduce the cannulation miss rate from 40% to 10%. Studies by the Avatar Vascular Research Group show that we are wasting $700 million in Australia alone in wasted consumables and clinician time. The Veinwave would save hospitals in Australia $525 million per year, and hospitals in North America and Europe $23 billion in consumables alone. We plan to launch in Australia and then expand to key markets in the US and Europe. Our team consists of vascular engineers and clinicians supported by an advisory board of experienced entrepreneurs with a track record of successful startups. The Veinwave, the right vein, first time, every time.
Hi, I'm Professor John Whitelock and I'm here to pitch a novel technology known as Heparin that can manufacture human heparin. Heparin is a critical anticoagulant or blood thinner that is on the WHO list of essential medicines and used in surgeries, kidney dialysis, and is a frontline treatment for life-threatening blood clots, including deep vein thrombosis. Since being introduced into the clinic in the 1930s, it has saved millions of lives. Heparin has an estimated market value of US $14 billion with a compound annual growth rate of 6.2%. In the US, around 12 million patients are administered heparin in a hospital setting annually. Initially, we are planning to target patients on kidney dialysis and elderly patients undergoing cancer treatment who are more likely to suffer from allergic reactions and adverse events. 80% of the heparin raw material is sourced from China, where it is processed from pig intestines. Heparin has challenges with safety and supply, including contamination problems that have led to patient deaths, allergic reactions that cause problems with blood clotting, swine flu infections that have reduced pig numbers and increased prices for the raw material. There are no Australian-based manufacturers of heparin, and we rely entirely on imported products for this essential medicine. Heparin technology provides a solution to these challenges. It is based on the introduction of a gene into human cells and secretion of the heparin into the surrounding growth medium. We take this fluid and isolate the heparin using well-established and commercially scalable processes. We believe that heparin produced using Heparin technology will be safer and provide a sustainable supply because we will have more control over the manufacturing process. Our Heparin technology was invented in Australia by a university-based team of heparin experts with over 45 years of experience. Our small-scale production has demonstrated that we can produce heparin with anticoagulant activity. We have a US patent granted on this technology and have published the results in scientific journals and have had interest from pharmaceutical companies. To be able to take this technology to the next phase of scaled-up production and testing, we require an investment of $500,000 over 2 years to fund the team and equipment to complete the tests that are required to validate the impact of human heparin. We will assess the project against milestones focused on yield from large-scale production runs and activity in bioequivalence trials. So thanks for listening and considering this pitch to support the Haparian team and sharing our vision to commercialise globally this Australian invention to manufacture human heparin and provide a reliable, safe and efficacious form of this critical blood thinning drug into the future.
When I was a medical student, I expected emergency doctors to be resuscitating critical patients or managing major traumas. Instead, I found myself fixing preventable problems that commonly occur after treatment. Falls and pressure ulcers are one of the most common causes of lengthy admissions and preventable morbidity. They're seen in over a quarter of nursing home residents who come my way, and they're costing the economy over billions of dollars and led to thousands of deaths. I thought by now there'd be preventable devices. But frankly, they are basic movement monitors using thousands of expensive individual sensors that cost nearly $10,000. Even ICUs can't afford that. One of my patient stories involved a young 28-year-old woman who fell from her bed and bled into her brain undetected, causing stroke and lifelong disability. Preventable incidences like these made us realize that something has to change. Our solution is BeamSense, an intelligent sensor mat that is the first device that monitors movement of your entire body and measures vital signs, heart rate, and respiratory rate at a commercially viable price. We use a combination of certain stretch fabrics, proprietary algorithms to track movements over an entire bed for a fraction of the price. Our functioning API uses machine learning to seamlessly monitor patients to detect and alert their caretakers of pressure sores or when falls have occurred. Right now, we're employing small batch manufacturers, filed national stage patents, and well on our way to regulatory approval. We've got partnerships with nursing homes in Australia, India, and America who helped us in product development and will be our first customers. We have even sold over 200 units on Kickstarter. Our next step is to trial with partners in India who provide us with clinical trial infrastructure and staff. Their high turnover facilities can help train our AI models with little to no cost. And for all this, we've got the team to make it happen. With engineers who have designed the delivered medical devices internationally, machine learning experts who worked at companies like Essentia, a medical director, and a strong network of doctors and researchers. Our founder is an ex-cancer patient and cancer researcher who's been through this personally. Now, funding from this competition will go directly towards improving and validating clinical trials. We're looking to raise funding, increase our partnerships with facilities, and seek ongoing guidance from experts. With BeamSense, we can collectively make a difference in the lives of people at risk, so people like that young woman don't go missed.
In current competency-based surgical training, an expert watches the procedure to provide feedback to the trainees. This is subjective, time-consuming, labor-intensive, and non-scalable way of ensuring consistent patient outcome globally. We need an advanced and scalable way to train our future surgeons. Technology is changing the way we deliver healthcare, and these are the 5 key healthcare trends in the future. Medical simulation have a market size of $3.7 billion US, with an impressive compound annual growth rate of over 16% the next 5 years. At SurgImtech, we leverage artificial intelligence combined with haptics and advanced sensing technology to develop an automated system for surgical skill training and assessment. This will be a unique product for the open surgery training domain, while commercial software are available for minimally invasive surgery training domain. Our innovative solution objectively evaluates surgical skill and provide real-time feedback to the trainee in order to support the development of self-directed skill practice. We have conducted a pilot study and tested our software with end-user surgeons in collaboration with Monash University and Surgical Simulation Center at Monash Children's Hospital. We have a uniquely capable team combining medical doctors, academics, educators, and engineers who are all established leaders in the field. We evaluated our minimum value product, and to help us succeed, we are seeking $200,000 seed investment in exchange for 20% equity. The money spent for product development and multi-center trials in Australian region. We are also looking commercialization experts to join our team. The origin prize money will go toward producing commercial hardware and integrating our coaching software. By voting for and investing in Surgeon Tech, you are helping improve patient safety and outcomes globally. Thank you.
Hello everyone, this is Sandal from Alphalius Tech. Alphalius is a startup based in India, Bangalore. At least 2.2 billion people worldwide had vision impairment, and at least 1 billion of them can be prevented. World Health Organization proposes a model where healthcare, where eye care can be taken to the ground level, to the community level, to schools, integrated system of eye care instead of having all in the tertiary care. However, this is how the conventional devices look today. They're bulky and fragile, they're expensive, and they're complex. They require a well-trained person to operate them. At Untitled, what we have come up with is IVA, Intelligent Vision Analyzer. This is a VR-based device that has infrared cameras and eye tracking cameras inside it. It shows you a stimulus and understands the response of your eye and your brain. IVA is accessible, simple to use, cost-effective, and telemedicine-enabled device. And this is how a typical report looks like. So what you see here is in the report, the defected portion of your retina will come in black or the grade of color, and the healthy portion is more of white and yellowish. This device can be used to detect various diseases such as macular degeneration, glaucoma, stroke, and other neurological diseases that affect the optic pathway. I started this whole idea came in December 2016, when I went for an eye test and realized how difficult the conventional devices are. And then in 2017, we raised a seed fund from our college incubator. In 2018, I finished my undergrads and did clinical validation in association with Aravind Eye Hospital and Johns Hopkins. In 2019, we launched our first product version. And in 2021, very recently, we did the second product version launch. This is how the device emerged over a period of time. Our target audience primarily are optometrists and ophthalmologists, and sometimes neurologists to screen for diseases. Our team includes me, Sandal, who is an engineer by profession, Akhil, an MBA, Dr. Venkatesh, Dr. Natarajan, who are some of the best glaucoma and retina specialists in the country, and Dr. Arul and Dr. Swati. I would like to conclude with quote of Dr. G. Venkateswamy that intelligence and capability are not enough. There must be joy of doing something beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, startups. There were some great pictures there. Some brilliant technology, some genuine passion, and all there to improve the lives and healthcare around the world. I'm really excited now. Joining us in the studio, we have Kate Cornick. Kate is the CEO of LaunchVic, an independent agency set up by the Victorian government to develop Victoria's startup ecosystem. And she's also a good friend of ours and of the MedTech Actuator. You might not know this, but Kate and LaunchVic are responsible for the releasing of over 185 million in state government funding into the startup economy. Kate, welcome. It's wonderful to see you.
It really is, Kate. 185 million, what a number. Fantastic. What a contribution.
It is a great outcome for the Victorian startup sector. And can I say thank you for having me here tonight?
Oh, it's a pleasure. So, Kate, obviously 2020 and indeed 2021 has been a really hard year for so many people around the country, around the world, but also for startups. Tell us a little bit about how you think the ecosystem has been adapting and how has it weathered the storm of the pandemic?
I actually think, as you know, I'm an eternal optimist. And while we absolutely recognise that there are some startups that have done this incredibly tough, they've had a really tough time last year, particularly those in sectors that have been really hard hit, like tourism and travel, etc. There are a phenomenal number of startups that have just gone gangbusters, and it's been a really exciting time for our sector. And it's a time in which we have seen growth. And all the signs are really, really bright. And while disruptions to our lives are always really challenging, there have also always historically been times of great innovation, great change. And so I think we at LaunchVic have to be optimistic about the future, because if our sector isn't, who is? So I think we're actually on the cusp of a really exciting time. And while we do acknowledge the tough times that people have individually been through, and acknowledge the tough times certain startups that really deserve to be on a trajectory of growth and haven't been able to do that because of the economy and because of the sector that they're working in, we also see there are startups that have just gone from a really bright future into a rocket trajectory, and they're climbing that J-curve faster than they ever imagined, and that's incredibly exciting for those startups. It's incredibly exciting for our economy because it's about creating jobs, and most of all it's exciting for our sector. We are a sector that is about building future industries. It's about the future of the state of Victoria, and it's about making a positive impact on the world. So I think the future is very bright, but tough times for many, but also great times.
I agree. We're seeing a tremendous amount of capability now in the ecosystem. And the last 5 years have been quite dramatic, I think, in Victoria. What changes are you seeing? What changes are really exciting you in the ecosystem right now?
Well, I mean, if we look on the journey we've been on in the last 4 years at LaunchVic, there really weren't very many accelerators. The startup ecosystem was very much a sort of niche beer and pizza kind of thing happening around town, and it wasn't mainstream. And over the last 4 years, we've really seen startup and incubators, accelerators, and the language proliferate through mainstream language. And so working in government, we're often hearing about governments that are wanting to work with accelerators or incubators. 4 years ago, that was incomprehensible. And so we also see the same in corporate Australia. More and more people are interested and recognise that startups are part of their future. It's not just a nice to have, a flea on the elephant's back, something that is a bit of theatre. It's actually necessary for us, whether you're in government, corporate, or as a consumer. So I think the change that we've seen is the startup ecosystem being mainstreamed. We've also seen phenomenal growth, as I just mentioned, over the last 4 years in particular. But I think there's also changes that need to occur, and an example of that is the investment landscape, where we know our investment landscape isn't yet quite keeping pace with the changes that we're seeing in the growth of startups. And at the end of the day, both work hand in hand with each other. You need a strong investment landscape to have a strong ecosystem, and you need a strong ecosystem to have a strong investment landscape. So the changes are absolutely happening. I think one of our challenges is keeping up with the pace of change that we're seeing in the ecosystem. That's a nice problem to have.
Wonderful. And isn't it, we're a long way away from beer and pizza, all sitting here in our black tie and looking very glamorous, Kate. So Kate, one last quick question for you then. The Victorian government invested incredibly heavily in innovation in the last budget. LaunchVic got a tremendous outcome for our ecosystem. The Breakthrough Fund, many initiatives in manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, in different forms of innovation. What should we be excited about looking forward? What does the future hold for us, do you think?
Well, I think the future is very bright, and I know the Minister has just spoken, and she spoke about the importance of manufacturing, particularly in the health arena, the importance of accelerators and incubators to help grow startups. And I think we're going to continue to invest in that with that funding. For us at LaunchVic, launch, Vic, we've got two really exciting initiatives on top of our business as usual supporting accelerators and infrastructure of the ecosystem. The first is the Victorian Startup Capital Fund, and that's really about injecting a serious amount of money into early stage startup VC funds, early stage VC funds. And so it's a great initiative that's going to hopefully see a burgeoning of the local VC sector, and we think that's incredibly positive. Another one that's very close to my heart is the Alice Anderson Fund, which is a fund for supporting female founders. I know we're talking to an audience of people that are part of the ecosystem, but now there has never been a better time to start a startup. And if you know anyone who has got an itch, tell them to scratch that itch. Come meet people like you, get engaged with the ecosystem, because there is so much support out there. There's an increasing amount of capital coming through the system, as you just spoke about, Vishal. And I think the future is incredibly bright for our fantastic Victorian entrepreneurs.
Thank you so much, Kate. That was really a wonderful set of insights, really helpful, I think, to our entrepreneurs and innovators, and really great for the ecosystem to hear that from you. So thank you very much for joining us. It's been really great.
Yeah, thank you, Kate. Absolutely fantastic. So now we're going to hear from our second group of contestants. Over to you.
I would request everyone to close their eyes. Imagine you're at an intersection trying to cross the road with your eyes closed. You can open your eyes now. The pedestrian crossing sound and the direction to which it points are the only cues visually impaired have as they cross the road. Other than that, visually impaired people like one of the team members, Ron, have for a long time relied on guide dogs and canes to navigate from one point to another. However, they're not very effective in preventing contact with obstacles that are above the ground, like tree branches. That made us think, why not use similar technology deployed on drones to come up with a wearable device? There is a clear need for an affordable and highly intuitive navigation and guidance device for the visually impaired. This device will not only help the visually impaired avoid obstacles, but also constantly inform the user about any sudden change in their surroundings, like the placement of a safety floor cone. We have developed and tested a head-mounted device with haptic feedback, which can immensely aid the visually impaired in obstacle avoidance. This intuitive feedback device, using low-cost sensors, can seamlessly assist the mobility of the visually impaired without significantly increasing their cognitive load. Maintaining an optimum cognitive load for the user is vital to the successful integration and wider acceptance of this device. Preliminary tests on a prototype show promising results for obstacle detection using acoustic sensors with instant haptic feedback. There is a vast market for our product as the visually impaired strive towards technology-enabled navigation and guidance solutions. Our target is to tap into this market with the potential to sell 10 million devices. Further development aims to leverage the artificial intelligence-based solutions developed by companies like Microsoft and test the device on a wider community of visually impaired people. Sophisticated computer vision algorithms, which are already developed, will be integrated with multiple sensors to provide effective real-time situational awareness. Relevant objects in the environment in proximity to the user, like door handles and ramps, are detected using vision-based tracking and notified via aural feedback. With a team comprising of experts from the fields of navigation and guidance, path planning, and acoustics, and with the support of MedTech Actuator, this product aims to not only improve the lives of 575,000 visually impaired Australians, but numerous others throughout the world by promoting inclusivity and empowering them to lead better lives. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sylvia from OmniWell, and I would like to start by talking about cancer in Australia. Did you know that 1 in 3 people will develop cancer during their life? Having cancer could happen to any one of us. In 2020, there were 145,000 new cancer cases, and 10% of them are colorectal cancer. For cancer patients, time is the most precious thing. The quicker we find the right treatment, the higher chance that cancer patient can survive. The problem is each patient responds to drugs differently, and the current treatment efficacy will take 3 to 9 months to know for sure. Some patients died because treatment inefficacy. Now, our team is developing an in vitro diagnostic device for rapid drug testing named BioTwin chip. Our novel device can grow patient tumor tissues outside of human body, analyze the killing effect of tumor tissues, and predict the treatment efficacy within 2 weeks. This creates a faster feedback loop for clinicians, ultimately improving patient outcomes and treatment efficacy. The BioTwin chip will improve outcomes for all stakeholders, fast-tracked drug testing outcomes for pharmaceutical companies and research centers conducting clinical trials, improved clinical efficacy for oncologists, and ultimately safer and faster personalized treatment for cancer patients. Our beachhead market focuses on research use service and colorectal cancer, which is $27 million a year. After that, the served available market will be preclinical contract research service for various cancer treatments. Lastly, the total available market is precision medicine service for cancer patients. The core team is a diverse mix of business, biomedical engineering, and clinical cancer expertise. Until now, we have established 5 cancer models and tested 3 different treatments. We have received 1 grant and 3 scholarships. Lastly, we have achieved 3 milestones. We are looking for commercialization support, an initial fund of $400,000 to go to clinical trials of drug efficacy on cancer. And Origin's price will be crucial for us to access patient tissues. Join us. Let's make an effective cancer treatment an option for everyone. Thank you.
Pelvic organ prolapse is a condition that affects over 50% of women above the age of 50, as well as 50% of women who have just given birth. So what this means is that there is a high chance many of you will either have the condition at some point in your life or know someone who will, such as your mother, partner, daughter, or friends. Yet, despite being so common and quite debilitating, there is very little we can do to help women who suffer from this condition. So what exactly is pelvic organ prolapse? Pelvic organ prolapse, or POP, occurs when pelvic organs such as the uterus, bladder, or bowel descend into the vagina. This can cause symptoms such as pelvic heaviness, difficulty urinating, which often itself leads to recurring urinary tract infections, and incontinence. In the most severe case, it is possible for the entire uterus to come out of the vagina. So how do we manage POP? Well, currently we rely on the use of basic physiotherapy, lifestyle changes, the implantation of simple devices called pessaries, and surgical intervention. One of the major concerns with this is that surgery is seen as the main cure. Yet over 30% of patients have a recurring prolapse, and many procedures are now under scrutiny due to recent events. This has resulted in a demand for novel, non-surgical treatments which can improve or cure the condition. As a result, our team at Fessary are developing a new type of technology, one that will not only rehabilitate POP sufferers so that they can have an improved quality of life, but we also aim to reduce the worsening of this condition as these patients age. In addition, our device will supplement traditional physiotherapy techniques and provide a novel, objective measure of the rehabilitation program's effectiveness to guide clinicians and patients alike through the treatment process. To achieve this, our team consists of talented and experienced engineers and clinicians who are dedicated to seeing this project being successfully implemented. We also have an advisory team, which includes expertise in gynecology, engineering, and commercialization, with one advisor presently advising a number of medtech companies and venture capital firms. Together, we hope to bring a positive change to the women who suffer from this condition. However, to do so, we need support, which is why we are asking for $10,000. To date, with minimal budget, we have produced an initial proof of concept prototype for one aspect of our device and filed a patent on this feature. With the Origin money, we will develop and test an alpha prototype in accordance with the clinical needs specifications. In addition, we will use a portion of the funding to further develop our commercialization strategies so that we can mitigate risk and bring our device closer to the product market fit. So, tonight, by selecting us, you can be confident that you are investing in a product and a team that is dedicated to improving outcomes in POP patients. Because if you empower us, we can empower the women of our society by helping them experience a better quality of life. Thank you.
What a wonderful set of pitches, Buzz. Another great cluster of entrepreneurs. And we're looking forward to hearing more. But before we do so, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Menzies Foundation, ladies and gentlemen. Now, for more than 40 years, the Menzies Foundation has been supporting leadership and entrepreneurship capability building, as well as fostering a discourse on the drivers of leadership and how that relates to innovation. Today, we're really thrilled to welcome representatives from the Menzies Foundation to join us to launch a special report entitled Spinning Out, Supporting Science Startups in Australia. And we're also thrilled to welcome our colleagues and friends from Menzies to announce the inaugural MedTech Actuator Menzies Fellowship and Scholarship awardees. Now, if you'd like to read the report that's being launched today, you can follow the link on screen right now and download a copy. It's a great read. It's an important intervention, I think, in the debate around our ecosystem. Now, joining us from Sydney is Menzies Foundation board member Tony Surtees. Now, as well as sitting on the Menzies Foundation's board, Tony is the chair of the Entrepreneurs Program Committee. He's an active investor and board member across a number of startups here in Australia, but also in the United States. And he's been a vocal advocate for developing a commercialization culture within Australia and a key contributor to doing exactly that. It's a real thrill, Tony, to have you with us today. Welcome. Tony, we'd love to hear your thoughts and to hear from you a little bit about this report that's being launched today, this work of the Menzies Foundation. Can you share with us something about the report, Tony?
Thank you, Dr. Palmer, Dr. Vishal. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And yeah, I'd like to share some of my observations, both what's in the report and also the context that this report exists in. Spinning Out is groundbreaking research that will help us understand how we can all, every one of us here tonight and more broadly, can play an important role in supporting science-based entrepreneurship. This report specifically focuses on the lived experience of science entrepreneurs who wish to spin out and build successful commercial enterprises in Australia. In this report, the writers have interviewed science entrepreneurs with a range of experiences of commercialization at different stages of startups, and also documented what their lessons were, as well as some recommendations about how in Australia we can better commercialize and create a better ecosystem. Right up front, I'd like to reflect on a little bit of the context and effectively summarize, at least my interpretation, of three major elements around science entrepreneurship. The first is that really, in this world that we exist in, there's really no room for magical thinking. That technology just creates automatic successes. It doesn't work that way. But technology can create magic outcomes, and ultimately, that's what science entrepreneurship is there to do. The second point is entrepreneurship as a profession. It's not just invention, it's not just innovation, it's something quite different. And in order to enable our scientists to reach the goals in bringing real impact to the world, they've got to be able to understand and participate as a professional entrepreneur, as well as a science researcher and scientist. The third point is the world's biggest problems are the world's greatest commercial opportunities. We live in a world with COVID now where we've seen extraordinary things occur. We can talk about Jim Collins's hairy, audacious problems. Science commercialization has never been more important than it is right now today. And this is a fabulous opportunity for all of the infrastructure players and participants in this ecosystem to actually build on skills, strategies, and informed actions to get Australia to move into vigorous income generating, employing, taxation paying, growing enterprises. So let's talk about magical thinking. What is it? It's a belief that unrelated events are somehow causally connected, despite the fact that there's no plausible link between them. It's magical thinking that somehow believes that science discovery alone can create commercial success. You know, it's magic when the deaf can hear. That's Cochlear. It's magic when the lost can be found. That's Google Maps. It's magic when you can find an answer to an unknown tragedy. That's the aircraft black box. All of these technologies were developed by scientists in Australia. All of these became real, became large, and had a global impact, like Wi-Fi, canola for biofuel, PERC solar cells, and X-ray crystallography. They occurred because the businesses that formed around them became real. So science discovery itself is not enough. And the success of commercialization depends on trained, dynamic, entrepreneurial scientists or science entrepreneurs. Now, what makes a good science entrepreneur is not the same as what makes a good scientist. To increase the number of science-based deep technology startups, we as a nation need to get better at producing a pipeline of the people and the support for them to build these enterprises across Australia who can have a global impact. The sort of commercial outcomes that I spoke about a minute ago, they don't just spontaneously happen. They occur when you're aiming at targeting a specific result, a defined set of objectives, well-executed plans, which oftentimes fail the first time round. Go read a book from Randy Commissar in the US called Getting to Plan B. You'll see what I mean. The central point is that nascent science entrepreneurs have to negotiate all sorts of challenges, including a funding cliff between the spin-out and the establishment of an investable enterprise. There's a significant disincentive around this in Australia, historically, and we need to be able to address it. We need to be able to really drive capital into new blended vehicles that can unlock the commercial opportunities and create the magic that we're talking about. So this important nexus between science discovery and its translation is really what we're talking about here. Second point I talked about before was entrepreneurship as a profession. Well, what is a profession? Well, it's an occupation which is founded upon specialized educational training, the purpose of which is to supply objective counsel and service to others. A profession has shared values and ethics, and it's a shared set of values and ethics and obligations amongst its practitioners. So entrepreneurship is not just invention, and it's not innovation. Entrepreneurship increasingly has its own management science. It has to catalyze innovation to deliver an economic outcome. Entrepreneurship is practiced better in some places than others. We all know these places. We know them under various different names, but Silicon Valley, where I spent a long time, Israel, Singapore, London, we need to make Australia compete better to be in this list of great ecosystems. And we're doing that, but we need to do more of it. We need to do it faster. I'm very pleased, as you mentioned before in your kind introduction, to be chairing the Entrepreneurs Program Committee, one of the many government programs that provides grants. Accelerating Commercialization, which I chair as part of the government's Entrepreneurs Program, has already helped over 550 businesses bring innovative technology to market. Spinning out of researchers into enterprises to become a good science entrepreneur, to bring that science discovery to market, means that we have an opportunity to be able to create a viable business that will survive beyond just the tenure of the founders into becoming an ongoing impact creating business that creates that magic in the world. So the world's biggest problems are the world's greatest commercial opportunities. If it weren't for the communications technology that we can share in terms of the communications that we've all been able to participate in remote working, if it weren't for the discoveries that have led to the dramatic breakthroughs of the development of vaccine in record-breaking time, we would be in a far worse situation. We need to learn the lesson of why science entrepreneurship, the struggle to commercialize breakthroughs in the lab and turning them into innovative products in the market, has never been more important than it is today. What the MedTech industry is doing in Australia has never been more critical than it is right now. This research has identified four main opportunities this research has identified four main opportunity areas to increase the entrepreneurship pipeline. We need to be able to inspire and enable scientists to access commercial industry pathways. Second, we need to inform through industry-led training and tailored mentorship to the elements around the elements of commercialization to help build those professional skills. We need to support the intellectual property foundations, including understanding how patents work and how investors can access, through this invention, this intellectual property. And we also need to be able to allow investors to understand and access these investment opportunities quite specifically and help train scientists and their teams to understand the fundamentals of producing a good quality investment and investable opportunity. We recommend prioritizing working with a number of different leverage points to create more commercially friendly policies and incentives with and for research institutions. We want to add to the aspirational elements to encourage scientists to become commercially active and effective entrepreneurs. We need to bring together scientists and investors. We need to make the communication between them far more seamless, far more interesting, and really capture the passion that the scientists have when they are developing their ideas. We need to improve specific entrepreneurial and business training, including the funding pathways and different and more effective form of mentorship for scientists to really help them through and break out of the traditional vertical silos that many scientists have traditionally come out of. We also need to design intellectual property guidelines that can help research institutions understand what they should be aiming at, what good looks like, and how scientists can be empowered to become science entrepreneurs. So these are the intervention points that this report really touch on about how to turn innovative thinking and the raw material that we have in the minds and the energies of our scientists, and how to drive better collaboration between industry and science and make Australia compete in creating the magic that is available to all of us. Thank you. Buzz, Vishal?
Thank you so much, Tony. An outstanding insight into this world of science entrepreneurship. And the report sounds absolutely fascinating. And I strongly recommend that everyone watching this evening downloads the report, has a read. And there's a few things. So thank you, Tony. We really appreciate your passion and your support in this space. So the MedTech Actuator is really proud to announce that we've partnered with the Menzies Foundation to support new life science leaders, drive strong and lasting entrepreneurship across Australia with training, and to help facilitate that ecosystem through connections and exchange. And as part of this partnership, the Menzies Foundation and the MedTech Actuator are offering 2 fellowships and 10 scholarships. And these are annual to facilitate knowledge transfer between industry and researchers. And actually, I'm really excited to tell us a little bit more about this. Is Menzies Foundation CEO Liz Gillies. Liz, welcome to the studio. It's wonderful to have you as part of this gala this evening. So the Menzies Foundation is a true voice to science entrepreneurship. It's driving this thinking of commercialization, of leadership within the research space. What's the drive for the Menzies Foundation? Why are you such a voice for this part of the ecosystem?
So Buzz and Vishal, it's just delightful to be here this evening. The Menzies Foundation is focused on raising the profile and importance of outstanding leadership, and entrepreneurship is one of the key leadership attributes for the next industrial age. So as a leadership concept, we're very interested in deepening our understanding of entrepreneurship and really thinking about how to raise the profile and importance of that entrepreneurial disposition. The way that we go about doing that is we identify leadership challenges and we look at how we build systemic platforms to address those challenges. Science in Australia is one such leadership challenge. Australian scientists are extraordinary in terms of the calibre of research and the research, the discovery process is so highly regarded around the world. In addition, we have an outstanding health system, and yet the area that we fall down in is how we take that amazing insight and knowledge set and a system that supports it and build new businesses and enterprises. And particularly in a post-COVID world, this is an even higher imperative. This idea of great scientists going overseas because entrepreneurship isn't supported in a way that unlocks new innovation opportunities for our great science entrepreneurs is something that as a nation we need to address. And the Menzies Foundation is very grateful to be working with the MedTech Actuator in addressing that challenge.
So thank you, Liz, and we're thrilled to be working together as well, of course. And Liz, we've had such a rich and exciting conversation over so long together with the Menzies Foundation. And one of the things that we keep coming back to in that conversation is the importance of an ecosystem, a systemic perspective to foster better science entrepreneurship and, importantly, better social and economic outcomes from the kinds of research that we do so well here in Australia. So Liz, tell us a little bit about how you see system and its importance in thinking about entrepreneurship and science.
I love that conversation, that question, Vishal, because I very rarely get asked it. The Menzies Foundation has a particular view on this. We really strongly believe that a siloed approach to solving wicked problems is not the way forward. And the Menzies Foundation goes to considerable lengths to develop deep collaborations that bring multi-sector perspectives to drive new insight about how to solve these problems. Too much of the way that we think about impact in this country is siloed. It's either government's responsibility or a not-for-profit responsibility. Actually, and science entrepreneurship is a brilliant example of this, we need the best thinkers from the corporate sector. We need the best of government in terms of new ways of collaborating. We need the best of people like yourselves with such a commitment to changing the system. And it's in the combination of those things and in bringing together new solutions to how we might solve this problem that we believe the future lies.
Wonderful, Liz. Thank you so much. And we're so thrilled to be part of this conversation with you. And we're really excited about what the future is going to hold for us together as we tackle these thorny problems and replace magical thinking with real world action. So we're thrilled. Thank you. We're also thrilled, ladies and gentlemen, to announce today the inaugural batch of MedTech Actuator Menzies Fellows and Scholars. Liz, we've had quite a process in whittling down those wonderful applications into the awardees. Tell us a little bit about it, and then we'd love to invite you to tell us more about the fellows that we're announcing today.
So Tony Surtees, a Menzies Foundation board member, has spoken about the report we're releasing today. The fellowship and the scholarship program really goes to the heart of addressing one of those challenges identified in the report. How do we put aspiring science entrepreneurs in and connect them to funding, resources, and expertise to help them move from research context into commercial contexts? And I have to say, the Menzies Foundation was delighted with the cohort of emerging scientists and successful scientists that the MedTech Actuator has identified in terms of this process. We're disappointed we couldn't give more fellowships and scholarships because there was an outstanding cohort of scientists with so many promising opportunities for potential commercialisation that will put Australia on the map in terms of the contribution it can make to science and to a flourishing life more generally. And so, as I say, it is with great delight that I announce the fellows and the scholars. The first fellowship has gone to Associate Professor Jeremy Crook, Chief Investigator of the Synthetic Biosystems theme of the ARC Centre of Excellence for Electromaterials Science and Principal Fellow of the University of Wollongong. Our second fellowship for our inaugural program has gone to Dr. Chris McCarthy, Senior Lecturer in Computer Science at Swinburne University of Technology and an Honorary Research Fellow at the Bionics Institute.
That's wonderful, and congratulations to the fellows, and thank you so much, Liz, for making it possible for us to recognise these outstanding science leaders and to give them a taste of what it is to become science entrepreneurs. Even more than that, we've gone, these were our more established scientists. We also have given a series of scholarships, haven't we, Liz, to emerging scientists and innovators. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about those.
Well, what was so phenomenally exciting about this cohort was young, aspirational, brilliant young people, Australians, seeking to make their mark in the world and to take their brilliance, frankly, into applications in the real world. And to be honest, it was a privilege to hear the group of the group of scholarship recipients' stories. Once again, it's incumbent on all of us to do more because there are a significant number of bright young Australians with enormous entrepreneurial capacity and interest, and we must do everything we can to build better runways, more opportunity for these scientists, because frankly, they're Australia's science future.
Buzz and I have had quite a bit to do with them already, and they're just a fantastic group, aren't they?
Outstanding.
So, Liz, won't you please announce these scholars?
It gives me such delight, and as I said, I wish there were more of them, but it gives me such delight to acknowledge and to recognise Martina Barzan, Research Fellow at Griffith University, Dr. Soeb Bazia, Emergency Doctor and GP Trainee at Matter Health, Chia-Chi Chien, Chief Scientific Officer and Research Fellow at Omniwell, Julie Dow, PhD Candidate at Monash University, Alinta Fennell, Bachelor of Advanced Science, University of New South Wales, Ethan Gruby, PhD Candidate, Monash University, and Debolina Majumdar, PhD Candidate, RMIT University, Hope Newman, Master of Reproductive Science, Monash University, Luke Vischer, Clinician at Queensland Health and PhD Candidate, Queensland University of Technology, and Ritesh Warty, PhD Candidate, Monash University.
Wonderful, Liz. Thank you so much. Congratulations to all of our scholars. Congratulations to our fellows. It's one of the things that we at the MedTech Actuator love so much is to find people whose latent capabilities are just waiting to be unleashed. And thanks to the Menzies Foundation, thanks to your board, Tony and the rest of the board, and yourself, Liz, we feel like we're able to help unleash a series of wonderful talents for economic, social, and healthcare gain. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Liz. We're really excited to be able to facilitate the journey of our fellows and scholars, and we look forward to building capability and capacity in their commercialization and commercialization generally through the ecosystem. So now, speaking of commercialization, speaking of unleashing, it will be wonderful to move on to our final pitches from this year's contestants.
Imagine if surgeons were blind during surgery. Well, when it comes to seeing nerves during operation, they practically are, leading to unintentional damage. This problem affects numerous surgeries, causing speech and eating difficulties in neck surgeries to impotence and incontinence and prostate removals. For prostate removals in particular, nerve damage causes 3 in 4 patients to suffer from these chronic complications, creating an economic burden of $1.35 billion each year in the US alone. Here at Vector, we have seen these consequences firsthand in our family and friends. That is why we aim to provide surgeons with the necessary vision to prevent this damage. Building on existing 2D ultrasound technology used for visualizing large nerves underneath the skin, our solution will enable, for the first time, continuous 3D visualization of smaller crucial nerves around organs intraoperatively. Existing solutions for nerve damage provide binary information on whether the nerves are damaged or not, while increasing operating time and requiring extra personnel. Therefore, surgeons infer nerve location mainly based on their anatomical knowledge or imaging of adjacent blood vessels, which provides unreliable information. With our solution, NeuroVis, nerves are directly shown on the existing display through a nerve detection algorithm and image processing, removing the requirement for extra expertise, time, and staff for interpretation. Most importantly, the real-time 3D nerve location information ensures surgeons finally know their proximity to nerves, helping them to prevent unintentional damage and improve clinical outcomes. Making this system a reality is a team with a mix of medical, engineering, biodesign innovation, and business expertise, complemented by a group of surgical and engineering advisors. Since 2019, designs, preliminary benchtop testing, and software processing for animal nerve detection have been performed. These were based on extensive stakeholder engagement with over 40 people, including surgeons, hospital administrators, and sterilization teams. With the $10,000 prize money, we aim to seek initial legal advice on our design and refine our technical parameters of our device. Achieving these first stage milestones is important in achieving our overall goal of raising $300,000. This sets us on the right path to further refine our design, complete our proof of concept testing, and file for a provisional patent application. We also know the value of mentorship and are seeking expert advisors and mentors in R&D and ultrasound technology. To summarize, we're a team passionate about solving unintentional nerve damage by providing surgeons with the necessary vision to prevent it. This is achieved through continuous 3D ultrasound imaging to directly visualize nerves intraoperatively. If you believe in our team's vision, we welcome your support on our exciting journey. Thank you.
$45,592 COVID tests are performed in Australia each day. That's 45,592 people in isolation waiting for their test results. Current COVID-19 testing gold standard is polymerase chain reaction, or PCR. PCR takes 24 to 48 hours to get your results. For over 45,000 people, isolating for 24 hours means 45,000 days of work lost, activities lost, time with loved ones lost. And PCR is expensive, costing up to $100 per test. But it's the gold standard because it's extremely sensitive, detecting even viral fragments. However, because of this, PCR has difficulty distinguishing active virus from old virus. Rapid point-of-care tests are quicker and cheaper than PCR, and they function by detecting antigens or antibodies produced by your body in response to a viral infection. They're extremely sensitive if you test in the first few days of infection. After that, their sensitivity drops off dramatically. Imagine if you could have a COVID-19 test result in a matter of minutes, cheaply and with a high sensitivity for active infection. Rygen Test and Go is a biosensor targeted to COVID-19 that will give you a result in under 20 minutes. It's cheap to produce, costing less than $7 per test. And it functions, unlike other rapid tests, by detecting the actual virus. And unlike PCR, which detects viral fragments, our innovative nanotechnology will only detect active whole virus, making it the most sensitive COVID-19 test on the market. Test and Go is perfect for hospitals, prisons, aged care, quarantine hotels, residential institutions susceptible to infection outbreaks, and where care and treatment are already administered, so there's no extra burden on staff. Add to this point-of-care testing stations that could be set up at airports or major events, helping us get back to normal life quickly and safely. We initially intend to launch Test and Go in Australia to people and places at the point of infection outbreaks, but then to expand into the Asia Pacific and general population. Current infectious disease diagnostic market is approximately $70 billion US, and based on the number of tests in Australia, we conservatively estimate the Australian market to be around 800 million. Our addressable share that we can target approximately 40 million in the first year or two. Our culturally diverse and interdisciplinary team have expertise in materials engineering, nanotechnology, law, business management, and medicinal and biochemistry. We have already tested our sensor against COVID-19 viral fluid, and a patent application is in process. Our next steps are clinical trials and prototype, for which a share in the prize money would be extremely helpful. We hope you will help us ease the burden of this and future pandemics. Test and Go.
Hi, I'm Takeo Tanaka, the founder and CEO of MedTech. This picture is from an old science fiction movie. The our novel approach makes the dream of this movie true now. There are still challenges in treating solid cancers, which make up the majority of cancers. We have to solve these problems. The proposed therapy is completely new strategy of pinpointing only the cancer tissue and not using medicine, utilizing the vascular structural characteristic of cancer tissue. Where the pipe is full of holes, it is a simple mechanism that uses a catheter to send nanodevices that act only on cancer tissue via arteries to block oxygen and nutrients. Comparison of each treatment method from the patient and doctor's point of view. It is considered that there are no negative items in any of the items. It is natural for patients to improve their QOL. There are also great benefits for doctors and medical institutions performing the procedure. It is also expected to be a recommended therapy for the life insurance companies. This therapy is in principle versatile for solid tumors. The potential market size from these 4 cancers will exceed about $10 billion per year. Currently, as a new medical device, we have reached the final demonstration stage by animal experiments on biocompatible materials, nanodevice manufacturing method, and mechanism of action. After that, we will finally move on to human clinical trials. Since the treatment with this device does not utilize the pharmacological action, it is treated as a medical device, and we can take full advantage of being a medical device. This is a major team member of this project. Please support us mid-year. We provide a new hope for cancer patients who have no cure. We are seeking the investors and future business partners in the world, including local clinical trials. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Surgery is stressful. As a doctor, I see it every day with my patients. You may have experienced it too. You're away from your loved ones and home, and what's worse is after the operation, if you have a surgical drain, doctors often can't reassure you on when you can be discharged. Inaccurate surgical drain output monitoring is a critical factor in this. Currently, the surgical drain output monitoring process is manually intensive, error-prone, and involves multiple staff. The fallout? Unreliable information. This prolongs patient stays in hospital, increased hospital costs, and can result in patient complications. Our device, the Yabby, solves this. It is an automatic device that continuously monitors drainage fluid. Digital readings of fluid flow and blood presence are recorded with a timestamp and an alarm system with adjustable thresholds that notifies medical staff immediately. The Yabby aims to deliver safer, earlier patient discharge, improve clinical workflow, and reduce healthcare costs. This is the main value proposition for hospitals. Surgeons estimated, on average, patients will be sent home a day earlier, saving hospitals $1,900 per patient. Looking at our competition, most existing continuous flow meters don't work with surgical drains, as they are unable to collect intermittent fluid at low flow rates. Lab products can do this using ultrasound, but are complex and require specialized software to view information. None of them are disposable, easily readable, fit for medical purpose, and suitable for mobile patients. Globally, the market for surgical drainage is expected to reach $4 billion in 2027, with a CAGR of 3.6%. Our plan is to launch in Victoria, capture $2 million revenue in the first year, targeting around 10,000 patients annually and the surgeons who undertake the specialty operations. Then we will expand to other surgeries and geographical jurisdictions. The Yabby is planned to be sold as a disposable product in line with drainage consumables and surgeon preference. It will be priced at around $190 using value-based pricing, capturing 10% of the value gained by the hospital. As part of the Biodesign Innovation course, Yabby was successful in winning 2 awards at the University of Melbourne Telstra Endeavour competition. We are also participating in the Melbourne Accelerators Velocity program. We have verbal agreements with UVet Werribee Animal Hospital to conduct animal testing and Northern Health to conduct in-human trials. Our team has accumulation of medical, business and engineering expertise, as well as experience in delivering results in COVID online environment. We are the team who will bring the Yabby to market and improve surgical drain output monitoring. We have seen other biodesign teams such as Navi and Ventura participate in MedTech Origin and gain knowledge and resources that led them to achieve greater success. Through your investment, we will begin to fund the development of an alpha prototype, commence provisional patenting, and proceed to clinical trials. Thank you.
So that was the last of our pitches for this evening. It's been a phenomenal lineup, some outstanding pitches, tremendous entrepreneurs, some really innovative ideas there as well. It's been just outstanding.
It's really great.
Joining us in the studio is Malia Former, partner and Oceania Entrepreneurship Leader, EY Private, of course, at EY. We also have coming through Shane Evans, partner and health and aging industry lead at Minter Ellison. Kathy Connell, Senior Director of New Ventures Australia and New Zealand for Johnson Johnson Innovation, and Eddie Walker, patent attorney and partner at FB Rice, all joining us from Brisbane and Sydney. So welcome, everyone. Malia, you've watched these pitches with us. What were your impressions of the entrepreneurs you heard from this evening and their technologies?
Well, what really struck me, Buzz, was how incredibly diverse in experience, demographics and geography representation all the finalists were. And that really reflects our community, doesn't it? But it also, I think, represents that technology itself is agnostic. I loved seeing how it really shines a light on our next generation of inspiring entrepreneurs who are going to fuel our growth and the prosperity that we need here in Australia, but also globally. And really importantly, going to make a difference to people's lives on a daily basis. It was incredibly heartening to see people creating businesses that really felt tangible. They felt real and meaningful. And nearly all of the finalist pitches demonstrated cross-border market opportunity, which is fantastic. And honestly, each finalist deserves incredible recognition. They should be really, really proud of all that they've achieved. And really, they're truly inspiring for us to do more and be better.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Malia. Now, all of the pitches tonight were judged on 3 criteria: novelty of innovation, team, and particularly the capability of the team to take the innovation to market, and the market opportunity for the technology or innovation. Now, Shane, I know that when we spoke ahead of tonight, you brought up a very real market opportunity and indeed a real need that medical technology will be essential in addressing. Tell us a little bit about that, and tell us a bit about what you think about tonight's contestants and how have they been addressing trends and growth in the market.
I've definitely seen a shift in the market over the last 12 to 18 months. And COVID's certainly been an accelerant to that. And the focus particularly has been ones that focus on out of hospital or in home, in place might be, for example, at our aged care facility, and that are enabled by technology and data, and definitely looking for consumer-centred. So in terms of the solutions, particularly what investors are looking for and health economic buyers, they're looking for big picture solutions around public health, chronic conditions, or something that's able to predict or prevent, for example, illness, and also reducing cost and time, so reducing demands on clinician and service time and demands, and reducing length of stay or the number of attendances. And, for example, we're reducing complication rates, which definitely will reduce length of stay and the number of attendances. And all the contestants really picked up on that. and a number pleasingly had solutions across multiple of these demand side criteria. So I found it extremely pleasing to look at all of them, and they met multiple criteria for that.
Perfect. Thank you, Shane. That's a great insight. Kathy. Now, Kathy, you've been a supporter of the MedTech Actuator and you've been a judge on the MedTech Actuator Origin competition for 5 years now. 5 years. We've been running it for 7, and 5 of them you've been one of our judges. What did you think of this year's contestants, and what trends are you seeing in the problems, the solutions, both within competition, but also the wider sort of network and the ecosystem in Australia and New Zealand?
Well, the fact that we have been doing this for 5 years is actually an honour and a privilege, because what we've had the opportunity to see is the maturation of this sector. So we talk about startups, but actually, particularly this cohort, I saw as being beyond startups. It was a really compelling, interesting, incredibly professional group of contestants and actuator members. So I was just thrilled. In fact, I was blown away when I had the opportunity to review all of the pitches and the opportunities. One of the things that strikes me, and has been mentioned before, has been not just the maturation and the professionalisation of the group, but the fact that they're really looking at areas of high unmet need. But what I'm particularly heartened by is thinking about preventative medicines and thinking about devices that will prevent increased morbidity as a consequence of striving for solutions, that sometimes there are unintended consequences, particularly in a surgical or in a pre or post-operative environment where patients may suffer a morbidity that, was unavoidable. So, I'm really excited to think about the ways in which this particular cohort is addressing that need of disease and morbidity interception in a very tangible way. I agree with the commentary about the diversity of the talent, and that's really heartening to see too, because I think what we know is that when we see diversity of talent and corporations, we see the envelope as it relates to innovation being pushed. And that certainly came in spades this year. So congratulations to the MedTech Actuator team for your selection, but special congratulations to all of the participants.
Perfect. Thank you, Kathy. Really appreciate those words. Now, Eddie, I know you did a little bit of internet research in preparation for tonight's judging. And when we were chatting before going live, you brought up something you found on many of tonight's contestants' LinkedIn. Tell us what was that about, and why do you think, and what do you think it says about the entrepreneurs we heard from this evening?
Yes, it's not hard to see, the devotion of these contestants. Even from a look on LinkedIn, I've seen that many of the startup founders often signal their position in their startup project above some other highly impressive jobs, be it doctors, surgeons, academics, engineers, or otherwise. And talking of internet research, my involvement with the MedTech Actuator got me looking at how some of the world's biggest medical device companies started. And in the 1950s, this is one of many examples, a man called Earl Bakken, through his medical device repair shop, got to know a heart surgeon at the University of Minnesota Medical School. And at the time, there were some well-known problems with artificial pacemakers. And in 1957, this was no more evident than when there was a large power cut across the Minnesota area. And sadly, this caused the death of a pacemaker-dependent child. The very next day, the surgeon approached Bakken about developing a battery-powered pacemaker device. And sure enough, Bakken managed to do that and created external battery-powered pacemaker devices that founded, in a sense, his Medtronic company. So like Bakken, it's not complete chance that the participants come up with such fantastic innovations and a desire to take their products to the market. There's always an unmet need to find a solution to a problem, whether that problem is something they're directly involved with or a family member is, or is a medical problem that they see in their day jobs. At the time in the 50s had webinars, online galas, or even LinkedIn exist. I'm sure Bakken would have been all over it. However, given the other similarities between Bakken and the present startups, I see absolutely no reason why the next Medtronic, J&J, Cook, or Abbott couldn't be amongst us today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And so true. Malia, earlier this evening, we heard from Minister Gala Pulford, and she told us about the importance of the medical technology space to Victoria's economic and indeed economic and social future. So we were really curious to hear from you as the Oceania lead for entrepreneurship at EY Private. What are you seeing in the entrepreneurship space, in the medtech space, on an Oceania-wide basis? What reflections do you have for us?
Well, a year on to the COVID-19 pandemic, I think it's fair to say that we've seen a real elevation of life sciences in mainstream media, but also in just the public eye. So what that's mean is it's really got a higher value priority order, not just in Oceania, but on a global scale. And mainstream people understand it far more than they did even 18 months ago. And what we're also seeing, therefore, is a huge amount of government funding and government support to the life sciences sector that we've never seen before. And that's in areas of capital investment, but also areas of particular priority focus for governments. Now, we're clearly seeing that in Victoria, but we're clearly seeing that from our federal government as well in every single state, and that's only going to continue. This is one of our priority government areas, and it's got a significant national focus that we've probably never had so much from a funding perspective and recognition. So that's fantastic. Another thing I'm seeing is a lot more interest from venture capital and angel investment for life science companies. It's becoming a lot more accessible. There's clearly a trend in the wellness technology area where there's a shorter time to market, and we've seen that in some of the finalists this year, haven't we? That they're not necessarily needing high TGA approval, so we've got a shorter lead time to get to market. Another trend we're particularly seeing over the last year in this region is a community, a sense of quorum in the life sciences sector. And the MedTech Actuator has been a key catalyst for a lot of that. So all credit to the MedTech Actuator to very early on recognising the need and helping to create this community so that people actually understand what it means to be a medtech startup and how to accelerate market entry. And what was really fascinating with a lot of these finalists and what we're seeing more broadly is there may have been an idea that we're going to get to X level of development phase, and then the ideal is that we will we will divest to a large pharma. Now what we're starting to see is more spin-outs coming out of academia, or people from academia creating some of these spin-outs, faster time to market, with a more revenue generating focus, where previously, prior to divestment, often these entities would have been loss making, where we're seeing now a real focus on revenue generation for profit as a going concern, but also a market plan. And the MedTech Actuator is all part of that, because you're helping create that market plan and expansion. So it's a fantastic community that you've been able to help facilitate and create.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I think you're right. I think we're seeing an openness in the community, perhaps that we've not seen before, and the pandemic has been able to kind of broadcast that from a life science perspective, and it's a really interesting time, I think, for innovation in medtech and beyond.
Absolutely.
So thank you. So now this is the moment I think we've all been waiting for, and we're going to find out which teams will win $10,000 each to take their idea further, faster, and even a chance for a fast-tracked entry into the MedTech Actuator Accelerator. And so, over to you.
And the winner of the EY MedTech Actuator Origin Prize is Omniwell.
Really, that's really wonderful.
Very
Buzz.
exciting. Thank you. Kathy, over to you.
Thank you. Well, we have talked about pushing the envelope, and so pushing the envelope and raising the envelope, I'm pleased to say that this year's winner of the Johnson & Johnson MedTech Actuator Award is, upside down, Miss Jane, is Vector Medical Technologies. Congratulations, technology.
Congratulations.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kathy, and congratulations.
And to announce our final prize for this evening, I'd like to invite Jamie Platt, Strategy and Business Development Manager ANZ at Medtronic, to join us. So Jamie, who is our Medtronic 2021 winner?
Thanks, Buzz. And the winner of the Medtronic MedTech Actuator Origin Prize is Veinwave. Congratulations.
Great, wonderful, congratulations. And Jamie, thank you very much, and thank you to Medtronic also for that award. And congratulations to all of our contestants. The MedTech Actuator Origin is highly competitive, and each team that you saw today, ladies and gentlemen, had to pass through multiple reviews and knockouts, niggling questions, annoying follow-up rounds of investigation. And so it was really wonderful that they cleared those hurdles and joined us here today. The ideas that they have pitched really do, I think you'll agree, have the impact potential to really transform healthcare, to transform economic environments, and to really make better and more flourishing lives at a very human level. So it's we were really thrilled to be able to bring them to you today, and so happy to be able to unveil them to you tonight.
Perfect, thank you. And a special congratulations to our winners, Omniwell, Veinwave and Vector Medical Technologies. We're thoroughly excited and proud of you for your contribution this evening, so well done.
We certainly are. And thank you again to all of our partners and sponsors for watching tonight. Thank you for all of our supporters gathered around screens around the country and indeed around the region. Every year, startups from across the various programs that we run tell us that it is the power of the MedTech Actuators networks that really gave them unbelievable value. It's what causes them to trust us to support their businesses and their growth, and it's what they need to really catalyze their journey. So it really does take a village, and we are so thrilled and so grateful for all of the time that you spend, all of the expertise that you give to our ventures and to our startups. Thank you. It's an honor and a privilege to be shoulder to shoulder with you as we take strides towards Australia and the Asia Pacific's healthcare and economic futures. Thank you all very much. How's that, Jack?